welcome to 3D Movie Cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from The Running Man being called The Game. I'm your host 3D Jake, and today we're looking at The Running Man, released in 2025. The Running Man is directed by Edgar Wright and is written by Edgar Wright and Michael Bacall, based on The Running Man by Stephen King, and stars Glenn Powell, William H. Macy, Lee Pace, Michael Cera, Emilia Jones, Daniel Ezra, Jamie Lawson, Sean Hayes, Coleman Domingo, and Josh Brolin. The movie is essentially about Glenn Powell, where he plays a guy who's down on his luck. His kid is diagnosed with cancer, and so in this world, that fictional utopia, futuristic world where basically corporations take over and everything, similar to Blade Runner, where basically, they've removed restrictions and everything on, that way chemicals, and so kids are getting cancer and people getting cancer left and right these days. And so essentially what happened is he said the cancer is curable, but it's really pricey, and so basically he goes on these game shows, and of course, like they say, hey, look, why don't you try Running Man? You'll get paid out, everything, and be able to live on your own after you complete the game. But he knows that's dangerous because people die on that show. So, of course, after Josh Brolin, the network execs, talks him into it, saying he'll get a $10,000 bonus for signing on, and if he wins, he'll get, to keep the money, plus he'll be able to live on his own for the rest of his life. He decides to do it, and then, of course, once the game starts, he realizes that the game is not what it seems to be, and that they're actually cheating to hunt him, and that this game, he actually will probably die, and so he has to outsmart them and kill the hunters and everything, and hilarity and chaos ensures. I admit, when I first heard they're making this movie, I had no interest in this movie, but then when I saw the first trailer, it made me like, okay, you sold me. And then, of course, just the trailers have been hyping me up for it. And then I remember my uncle was like, I really want to see this movie. I really want to see this movie. So then me and my uncle, we went and saw this movie. And I want to say I loved this movie. And he did too. The movie is not perfect, but it is a really fun time. I did really enjoy the whole idea. Like, Glenn Powell's really well done in the movie and everything. And it doesn't feel like an Edgar Wright movie in the sense of, if you're thinking about the Coronado trilogy, where it's more, I would say, Baby Driver Edgar Wright than Shaun of the Dead Edgar Wright, because, Edgar Wright, it has this unique tone and everything. And I would say the only thing that kind of reminded me of Edgar Wright was when the opening credits is him walking, similar to Baby Driver. That, I think, is where it sits there at, where I'm like, oh, okay. And I just remember watching this, and it's like how it starts out, where it's like, okay, Glenn Powell is an asshole in the movie. He kind of comes off as like a John McClane, no-nonsense type of guy. And, and I'm like, oh, so he's not going to be, I thought, it isn't until he goes through The Running Man, and that's when he starts becoming more like, he almost becomes like, he went from John McClane to basically becoming like he's on an episode of Jackass, where he's like, I'm still alive, you shit eaters, and he flips him off. He's like, and I'm just like, really? I mean, I'm just like, I was watching this going, okay, like, and I just remember, and I do think the hunters in the movie are really cool. I do wish that they would have, all the hunters had a unique set of skills, where it's basically like, because you have Lee Pace, who plays like the alpha hunter, who basically is just the guy who is like the like all the posters and everything, where it's like, be good or I'm lurking around every corner and everything, because at the end of the day it's a show, and he's basically hired by the network to hunt and kill these people. And so basically he's like, an action figure almost, and he's like, he goes after the Running Man. And at first, when I first saw his look, I'm like, he looks like a Call of Duty character, because just the way he looks and everything. But then you actually do like his character, because it's actually a fun villain, because he's like, at one point in the movie, he just runs down, he's running down the hallways, and like all the assassins are chasing after him, like, you better run, and they shoot him at his backpack, and then he jumps in there and goes, I got a grenade, and he throws it at Lee Pace, and he catches it with his foot, and he goes, back at you, and he kicks it back to him, and they it up, which there is some logic in this movie that doesn't make sense. But I do also like, for instance, there's a scene where he's chasing on this goat cart, or doom buggy. It's a doom buggy. He's sitting on this doom buggy, and they're being chased, and all of a sudden Lee Pace shows up, and he blows a kiss at him, and then pulls a bazooka out and shoots it at him, and then he just jumps out of the thing into the river, and I'm like, how he didn't break any bones is beyond me. Which, I mean, I still thought it was funny how he looked like, wow, he actually jumped into the river. Like, he just jumps out off a bridge into the river. I thought that was crazy. It's in the trailer, but I mean, it's like the scene leading up to it's crazy and everything. And there's some stuff in the movie that doesn't make sense again. Like, there is some logic, like how he survives the grenade, and then he pulls an enemy of the state in the hotel where he basically cuts all the gas lines and everything. Like, he knocks over the gas and everything, and all of a sudden when the soldiers come in there, it blows up and kills them all. And I'm like, how he did not die is beyond me. Because if the grenade didn't kill him, the gas would have definitely killed him. Because when he does that, he basically causes an explosion, and then like he makes it into the sewer in time before the fire gets him. And I'm just like, there's no way he would be dead, or at least like 3rd-degree burns, if anything. And which I mean, Lee Pace, by the way, just sits there like he doesn't care. Like, oh, my men are dead. I don't care. Which is crazy, because this guy is just like, I don't care who dies as long as I kill my running man. That's all. And I do think also, like there's this, it does remind me somewhat of Enemy of the State, because you have a guy who's on the run from like, the big giant corporation, which is the government in that movie, but it's like a corporation in this movie. And then you have one point he teams up with this nerdy guy who is like, oh, it's all rigged and everything, and just like Gene Hackman, Enemy of the State, and at one point even sets the place on fire when he's cornered just to get out of there, just like an Enemy of the State. And and he even sneaks around in disguise, and then puts something in a mailbox, just like an Enemy of the State. So I mean, there's a lot of Enemy of the State in this movie, to where I was like, it is very much, and they do have a doctored video. Like, there's some stuff that's AI in this movie, not like AI, real AI, but like just like they fake, AI, like where it's like at one point in the movie video, like he's basically like, he does this video because he learns like, okay, that the corporations are making people sick and everything, and he basically tells them, and then they doctor the video and everything. And then also they even have a doctor video when he's on the airplane, that's him gonna fly the plane into the building and kill everybody if he doesn't play along with the network nicely. And I like those ideas, because I'm like, we live in a world right now where, of course, corporations love AI and they want to use more of AI, and I thought that was really well done. I do feel, though, as this, like, I do like that this movie is anti-AI. I thought that was something I really like about this movie. And the movie is very faithful to the book in a way. Like, the movie it makes minor changes, but it's really faithful to the book, versus the Schwarzenegger film, where it's not very faithful to the book because they didn't have the budget, so they just shot in a stadium. And, and so I understand this is very faithful, and I do like this. And there is something that makes me laugh every time I was watching it, where like he's listened to, like, there's a reality show that's like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and it's a running gag in the movie where he's like, every time he's at a hotel, he turns it on the TV, and there's a show called Americanos, and there's even a theme song, and it's basically like Real Housewives meet the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's just women fighting the whole time on the show with beverages in their hands. And I thought that was really, really, really funny, because it's like, and at one point this girl, the secondary female in the movie, she's in a car and he kidnaps her, and she literally is just like listening to Americanos on the phone with her friend, fixing her makeup. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. That I would believe that that's a real person in 2025. And ironically, this movie does take place in 2025, and it's I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's message heavy. I mean, it kind of is, and especially if you know today's climate and things that's happening in the real world, you're like, oh, it's very much becoming a semi-autobiographical in a way. I do think, though, that one thing that separates this movie from the book is, like, in the movie, okay, like, because when he gets on the plane, okay, which I at first was expecting, because there's a thing that me and my friends really were like, it's kind of stupid. It's like, how would he... Like, the whole point is the hunters are hunting him. The hunters are hunting 3 people. And you got the first is the nerdy guy, the idiot that always gets cat first, and they kill him. Then you got the one that just doesn't expect to win, just blowing all their money and everything until they get killed. And then you got the third one, which is the final man, who is like, needs to survive. Well, the first 2 get killed. And then the third one, he's just sitting there, like, he kidnaps the driver, and they have him, and they're going to kill him. But then because he has a hostage and it's not recorded, and they don't have the cameras live, they're just like, oh, let him through, whatever, give him whatever he wants. And I'm like, you could shoot him and say, hey, we have footage of us killing him later. I mean, seriously. And I understand he has a hostage. That's mainly why they're not doing that. But the fact is that they're like, oh, once they said the camera start rolling, well, we're going to kill him. And I'm just like, it makes no sense, especially when he gets on the plane, which the plane, I actually really enjoyed the plane sequence, where he's like, because he's like, there's Josh Brolin makes him a deal, because he's like, when he's at Michael Cera's house, he tells him, I'll make you a deal. If you, he said, kill him, and kill the hunters. There's a gun in the cockpit, or not, or the kitchen. You grab that, you kill him. You'll be the running man. You'll be a hunter for next season, and you'll be rich. You'll have everything. And also, this man killed your family, and then he does like a fake AI video of them killing the family. And then, of course, just to motivate him. And then, of course, he gives this speech at the... I love him fighting Lee Pace. And I do wish... originally, from the trailers, it made it look like he was going to be on an airplane. He sneaks on a plane to get away from the hunters. And then I was thinking, oh, the pilots are going to be hunters. And they're going to be like, oh, we're here to kill you. But instead, it's like, no... He gets on a plane knowing that everyone on that plane, besides the woman, is hunters here to kill him once it's time. And I do think that it makes, like, it doesn't make the stakes as high, but I do appreciate the movie, like, especially him just, like, flipping around with a plane. It's like, whoa, just shoot. And then, like, him and Lee Pace at the end, which, like, oh, he took the parachute, but really, Lee Pace just hiding in there. And I'm like, I thought that was something I thought was interesting. Like, okay, he was a running man, but he survived, and that's why he's a hunter now. And I'll become just like him, because running hunters are expendable. And so he did. I love that message of, like, I don't want to turn into him. He's what I could become, and I thought that was unique. And I also do wish, though, like, it would have ended like the book, where he flies the plane into the tower and kills himself just to prove a point and become like a martyr. Instead, it just is like, okay, like they fake him flying a plane and the military shoots him down. I understand why he doesn't fly a plane in the building, because of, this book came out in the 80s, and after 9/11, I'm pretty sure they're not going to just have a plane fly into the building. I'm like, that would probably be too far. So instead, they just blow the plane out of the sky. And so, then they have like some bullshit reason, which I hate the bullshit reason. Oh, well, there's a secret cockpit where you can do this. And I'm like, why wouldn't he just go down because I'm sure he didn't throw the parachute out the window. Oh, yeah, it was attached to him. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so yeah, he had a parachute, but then the parachute like gets sucked in. Never mind, I retract that statement. But which I think honestly, I would be looking for another parachute, or like find some way. But instead, it's like, oh, they're like the cockpit can fly out and parachute away, and I'm like, what? That makes no sense. And then like they even have this one guy that's like that's kind of like like a rebel who's doing these broadcasts, to which I'm like, I don't know why the network doesn't send like a hit team to kill him, because they could probably trace those signals. But yeah, I do like this movie for the most part. Just the ending was kind of stupid, where it's like, oh, they're gonna do the new season of The Running Man, and then the guy just quits. The host quits, and then all of a sudden Josh Brolin's gonna host it, and all of a sudden they're able to riot with, get in this building with Molotov cocktails and then guns and everything and kill Josh Brolin. I thought that was just BS. But yeah, I mean, it's a turn your brain off type of movie. I mean, if you think about everything and logic in this movie, you would probably not like it. I would say it's kind of like The Expendables. It's a fun time. You'll probably really like it. I'm definitely going to watch it again. If I had to give this movie a grade, I'm going to give it a B+. Thank you so much.
Sharpton for president, y'all. I'm outie.
Jesse Jackson for VP.